In this episode, we'll learn how to connect with our natural intuition and healing abilities. Helping us with this is a qualified master teacher of higher consciousness and the author of Mapping the Inner Landscape. Welcome to the show, Suzanne. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you joined me on this episode for Soulful Conversation. I'm looking forward to learning so much from you about intuition, about interpreting, decoding signs that we have all around us and our dreams, connecting to our deeper self. And what made me so eager to be speaking with you right now is because you have over 35 years of experience. With your years of experience, you are helping people out there to connect to their higher mind, deepening their soul connection and activating their healing ability. And that's everything we'll talk about in this episode because I'm so curious to know how all of that works. So would you like to tell us about your work and tell us how you do all of this?
Well, let's see. What can I tell you about my work? My work is the same no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm teaching or doing healing or doing a private consultation. My work is to get you or to help you connect with your inner knowledge and your inner knowing so that you don't need me. So I've been trying to put myself out of business for 35 years. And what I like to do is teach other people how to get the information for themselves. I don't like people to be dependent on me. I don't believe that we really need to go outside of ourselves for anything other than a second opinion. So I like it when you check your intuition and I check mine and we see what we come up with.
Yeah.
I always say it's like looking at a painting. So we'll look at the same painting and I'll say, well, when I look at the painting, I see this. What do you
Mm.
see? And you'll tell me what you see. It's the same painting, but it's from two different perspectives.
Yes. Yeah. We see things in different ways, from different angles, with different understanding also. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And you have to remember that you know you better than I do.
Mm.
So you're always going to know what's right for you. I'm just looking at you and giving you my opinion of what I see based on what my intuition's telling me. But it's never going to be more right than you.
That's very true. That's very valid. I like that. You know you better than anyone else will know you. Yeah. Before we go further or deeper into this conversation, I'd just like you to explain to us what intuition means and how we can connect to our intuition.
Intuition is the smartest part of ourselves.
Hmm.
It is how the soul communicates to us. It's how our connection to God communicates to us. It's how our higher talks to us. And so intuition can be a thought, a picture, a feeling. It can be a song. It can be someone saying something to us. I have a good friend whose intuition talks to him through license plates. So
Oh.
he always knows where he's going to go next
Hmm.
by the license plates he's seeing on the cars when he's out driving around, which
Hmm.
I think is so cool.
Yeah.
And so intuition is just that part of you that is giving you your best advice, talking to you with the best information that you can get.
Oh. Then how do we connect with this intuition? Like, how do we know, okay, this is truly my intuition speaking to me and I am supposed to trust it? How can I connect, build a relationship or hear my intuition? Yeah.
It's a good question. It's like any other relationship. You have to kind of build the relationship. You have to build your own language. A lot of times people can't tell the difference between their intuition and their fear voice. And the difference is, how does it make you feel? When your intuition talks to you, first of all, it doesn't talk like we are. It doesn't use a lot of words. Your intuition is short and sweet.
Mm.
So it'll tell you, don't do that. It'll tell you,
Yeah.
take that job or answer that phone, right?
Mm.
Your intuition isn't going to say, Toby, I think you should take this job. It's going to be very good for you. It doesn't talk like that. So you have to get practiced at how to hear it or how to work with it. And then you have to act on it. So think about if you had a best friend and your best friend came to you all the time and said, Toby, what should I do? What do you think I should do? And you gave them this great advice, but they never listened to you or did anything with it.
Mm.
Would you want to keep giving them advice?
No.
No. So the best thing you can do to make that intuition voice stronger is actually trust it and act on it. If it's a fear voice, your body's going to feel anxious. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to not feel settled. When you listen to your intuition, everything inside of you relaxes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Because you're connected to your soul and you are listening to your soul's language. I believe you feel at peace once you're, doing what your soul truly wants to do.
That's right. Your
Ah,
soul
yeah.
is never going to yell at you or talk down to you. It's always loving. So, when you're thinking about making a decision and you hear things like, well, don't be foolish, or, oh, that's stupid. That's not your soul. Your soul will never talk to you like that. So you can tell with a little practice what's my fear voice and what's my soul voice. And if you're pretty aware, you can tell who gave you that fear voice. You'll know if that's your friend or your parent or a sibling, right?
Yes.
So you just have to be aware. It's like growing plants. You have to pay attention. You just have to pay attention.
Yeah. I mean, what you just said right now is making me remember some conversations I've had on this podcast. And that's to do with, dealing with traumas, basically. What we've experienced, maybe with some relationships in the past, with our parents, with friends, with loved ones. Those things could probably build up voices in our heads and they speak to us from time to time. And I think it's very important for us to heal ourselves from every kind of hurts, traumas, so that we can be able to truly hear what our soul is telling us and not the noises around, the noises from the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah. That they always say and it's true. Your intuition is the voice of your soul, but it whispers. It doesn't yell.
Mm.
See? So if all your fear voices are going, right? And your intuition is going, okay, but look at it this way. You have to calm down to hear it.
Yeah, come down to it. So I know of something called mind. I know we have our mind, but when I was preparing for this conversation, I got to read about higher mind. I was like, oh, what is higher mind and how do we connect to our higher mind?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. My teacher used to always get very upset when people would say that you should trust your gut.
Mm.
She always said, your intuition's not in your gut. Your intuition is in your heart and in your mind, because you need to be able to think clearly and hear clearly and feel clearly. So if you're down in your stomach, right, your gut, that's where we hold our fears and our tensions. So to get into a higher mind means to control your thoughts and to not allow your thoughts to control you.
Mm.
So when you're in the higher mind, just like if you were reading a manual, right? And let's say you were reading a manual on, I don't know, how to fix a car, how to fix a radio, right? Or a laptop. Your mind is clear and you're neutral. You're not emotional, you're not happy, you're not crying, right? You're reading a manual. And then you can take the information in and work with it. So when you're in the higher mind, you're not being pulled all over the place by your emotions, and you're not allowing the mind to run those little hamster programs that go on in your head, right? That say, oh, this is going to be a disaster. Don't do that. The last time you did that, this was terrible. Don't go near it.
Mm.
That's the lower mind. But the higher mind is where you receive higher information and it literally comes in through the top of the head
Wow.
from your soul, right? From God. So the energy and the information comes in through the top of your head, and your mind goes, okay, I got it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. So you mean the higher mind is the part of us that's connected to the divine, to God Himself, and then is that channel from above into us that is the communication. Yeah.
That's it. You got it. That's exactly what it is. And you said it way better than I did in a lot less words.
I learned that from you basically. I mean, it's just what you said in other word in different words basically.
That's
Yes.
great.
So now that we're saying, oh, Susan, this is so beautiful. We've talked about intuition, we've talked about higher mind, but I still have not figured out what my purpose is, what my soul purpose is. How can I figure that out? How can I connect or discover my purpose in life?
Well, I don't want to disappoint you, but soul purpose is usually a lot more basic than everybody thinks.
Hmm.
Soul purpose, you're probably already doing it. When you're on your soul's path, things fall into place. You feel good about your life. It doesn't mean you don't have bumps in the road or things that come up, but you know that you're right. You know where you're going. Everything feels good. And for most people on the planet right now, their sole purpose is to learn how to love themselves and to love others. That's really it. Now, how you choose to express that is completely up to you. So for me, the way that I love others and love myself is to teach. I know I'm a teacher. For you, it's being a connector, right? You're connecting people. You're making connections. You're expanding people's knowledge, their thoughts, and their understandings. So in a way, you're a teacher too. But you can't do any of that if you don't love people and you don't love yourself. So that's what mostly everybody's purpose is. Some people express their purpose through art. Some people express their purpose through dance. Some people express their purpose by being in the service, being a soldier. And if it's not right, if it's not your purpose, you always feel uncomfortable. You always feel like something's missing. You always feel like you're in the wrong place. And the world conspires to make you feel uncomfortable so
Hmm.
that you will leave that and go into what you're supposed to be doing. So I met a woman once. She was the best chiropractor I'd ever met. She could take one finger and do this, and every bone in your body would line up. She didn't want to be a chiropractor. She wanted to be an accountant. Can you imagine anything farther away
And
from a
that's
healer to an accountant, right?
is very far
She didn't
away.
want to be a healer. She didn't want to be a healer because her parents were healers, and she didn't want to do that. Every time she tried to start a business and do something other than chiropractic, it bombed out completely.
Hmm.
Nobody would come to her. She lost money. Everything went wrong because her purpose wasn't to be an accountant. And so every time she walked away from that path, her soul went, we're not going to make things easy for you,
Yeah.
you say. Now, if she would have gone into a different healing field, say maybe been an acupuncturist or an herbalist or even a doctor, then she would have been okay because she was still in that healing energy. But every time she resisted it, life got really bad for her. So you know when you're not in your purpose. And most people know what their purpose is. They just think that they have to quit their job, you know, get a tent and go, join the Peace Corps or, go live in a cave and meditate. It's not that most of the time. it's basically just living your life and learning how to enjoy it and love yourself.
Yeah. Live your life, learn how to enjoy it, and enjoy yourself.
Right?
Yes, yes. And I like the fact that I talked about, it doesn't have to be something very huge. It doesn't have to be something very distinct. It can just be as simple as, helping people out with something, creating art, for example, or just spreading joy around in one way or the other. Yeah.
Everybody years ago, back in the 90s, everybody thought that unless you weren't on Oprah, you weren't doing service.
Mm,
Well, everybody can't be on Oprah,
no.
right? Everybody can't be famous.
Mm,
You don't have to be famous to do your purpose or to be in service. You have to
mm,
be a good person.
yes.
You have to
Be a
love
good person.
yourself and others, right?
Yes. Be a good person. Love yourself. Love others.
Right?
Yes.
Everybody knows how to do that, even if they're not doing it.
Mm. But I think one thing that could be stopping us from doing this is because we are not fully conscious of who we are. So I think we have to learn ways to expand our consciousness so that we can increase the love and joy that we have, even for ourselves and for others around us. So I don't know if there are like some things we could do to expand our consciousness of who we are, what we are, and the world in general.
Toby, have you been in my last class? So I gave my last class this assignment.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes,
Maybe I was spying. I don't know.
you might have been. Your spirit was there. I'll give you a hard assignment. And I say it's hard because most people can't do it. 1 minute, take 1 minute and say out loud what you love about yourself that has nothing to do with your job. And if you can do that, then make it 2 minutes, because we don't know how to talk about ourselves in a loving way to ourselves, right? So we say, I love myself because I help other people. Well, that's a job, right?
Mm,
So what we want to get to is we love ourselves because of the innate spark of God within us. And how do we express that? And it's important for your ears to hear it, not just to keep it in your head. So, what I love about myself, what I appreciate about myself, if you can make a list of 10 things, you're in good shape. Most people can't get that far, right? So we have to learn to value ourselves, and not for superficial reasons. People value themselves because they have a diploma. Well, that don't mean anything. You can have 10 diplomas. What good is it if you're not doing something with it, right? If you still don't feel good about yourself, if it doesn't feel like enough, if you're not helping others. So it's not our accomplishments or our job that make us lovable and valuable.
mm.
And so I would challenge anybody to do that and see how far they can go.
Yeah. That's a very big assignment, and I encourage everyone who is listening to this podcast episode to, do the assignment for each yourself personally. Yeah, write down things that you appreciate about yourself, and yeah,
Are you thinking
from
about that while I was talking about it?
of course I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, I have to focus on what you're saying and not zone out and start listing things in my head. Yeah. So I'm basically going to, like,
Yeah.
when I'm listening to this podcast episode myself, do it myself again and write the things down. So I can pause the
Yeah.
episode, write them down, and then continue listening to the podcast episode. Yeah. That's what I would do.
And you know what? We should love ourselves just for being human. You
Mm,
know, I love the thing I love about myself is I can really laugh at myself. I just sometimes I do stuff that just cracks me up. And that's wonderful. Sometimes we think we can't love ourselves until we're perfect. And boy,
true.
isn't that hard.
That's difficult. That's very
Yeah, because
difficult.
you're
Yeah.
never going to happen.
Yeah.
So purpose is funny. Everybody looks for a grand purpose. Now, I will say some people come in with a task.
Mm,
So a task is something that your soul impresses on you to accomplish in this life.
mm,
So for some people, a task could be um, creating a program. It could be um, inventing something. That might be their task, but their purpose is still the same, right? Which is to love themselves and to love others.
mm,
So if you think about it, you've probably met somebody that has a task, but you don't really like them because
mm.
they're not really nice. They don't love themselves. They don't love others. They're just focused on their task,
Yeah.
right? And that's a hard life because they still have to learn what we have to learn.
Yeah. But how would you advise someone out there who doesn't love him to use herself? What can he or she do right now at this very moment to take a step towards embracing his or herself for who yourself is and just, loving? Maybe a little bit of love.
I'd say be kind to yourself. Give yourself allowance. We don't allow ourselves to be just to be who we are. We don't allow ourselves to play. We don't allow ourselves to rest. We don't allow ourselves to not have a goal for a few minutes,
Mm,
right? Um, we live in a world that's based on achievement and goal setting and meeting goals and moving on to the next goal instead of coming from a place of being and sharing and kindness. So if you're kind to yourself and you love yourself, you don't push yourself to do something all the time. You rest when you need rest. You do things when you have the energy to do things. You don't go into extreme, right? So extreme achievement is just going to exhaust your body and wear you down. No achievement is going to turn you into a slug, and nobody wants to do that, right?
no,
We
no.
still have things to do. So you
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of be in the middle. Um, but kindness in our thoughts, in our actions. When you think about yourself, do you think about yourself with kindness? Or are you thinking about what you need to do or what you need to improve or what you could do better or what you haven't accomplished or what you regret? Or do you think about yourself and say, wow, I'm doing pretty good. you know, I'm,
Yes.
I'm doing great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, Being critical of self is not loving and it's not kind. So we have to change that language.
Yes. Change the language that you speak to yourself. Let it be of kindness, of love, of compassion, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How many of us look at ourselves in the mirror and go, wow, I really love what I'm seeing?
Hmm. It's difficult.
It is.
Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, for myself, I have to be very intentional about it. I look at myself in the mirror and I say, oh man, you're so handsome. You're looking good. This is so wonderful. Yeah. But I mean, it's a very intentional work and it takes a lot of effort to do that
It
also.
does.
It
Yeah.
does.
It's not
Yeah.
easy. We're not trained to do that. So it's up to us to nurture ourselves and reteach ourselves so we can
Yeah.
have the life that we want. And once we do that, we give permission for everybody in our life to do it too.
True. That's very true. I would like us to quickly switch over to, dreams and
Uh-huh.
this the signs and symbols that we see around us in dreams also, and how it's important for us to learn these signs, how to decode them, to understand them, to know what they mean, and how they could influence our life in some ways.
Oh, gosh, my favorite subject. I love talking about dreams. Dreams are how your soul talks to you. It's one of the ways that your higher communicates with you, especially if you don't listen during the day.
Mm,
So there's all different kind of dreams. There's nightmares, which are mostly fears when we're working through fears and confronting them. And that tells us something about ourselves, right? So if we have a fear of a lot of times when people dream of someone dying, what they're actually doing is working through a fear of the loss of that person, or they're picking up on a transformation of the person. And so their personality is dying, but a new one's coming forward. I love dreams because that's when I get to travel. I get to go to different dimensions. I get to visit people. My deceased relatives always show up in my dreams. We're always eating dinner at the table or in the kitchen cooking, which is great. And then there are the dreams that talk to us, right?
Yeah.
So dreams about being in a car and going somewhere is about moving forward in life. So when you're looking at your dream, you want to look at what is going on and what does that thing represent. So I have a lot of dreams about changing clothing and shopping for clothing. Well, clothing is what you put on and what you show the world depending upon where you are, right? So the way I dress when I'm at home watching TV is different than the way I dress at work. And so when I'm changing clothes, there's something about my life that's about to change. And I'm getting ready to dress myself for that new thing. So I tell everybody, make your own dream dictionary and ask yourself, what does this mean to me? So what is its function, right? What is the function of clothing? The way that I was taught was your intuition talks to you through your house, your car, and your body. So first, the heat goes out in your house. And so what's the heat about, right? Well, heat could be temper. It could be how warm you're feeling about yourself in your life, right? And most people go, oh, well, the heat went out. Let me go get that fixed. And then we'll keep going on. And then what happens is your car overheats. The air conditioner goes out, right? The thermostat goes and the radiator goes. You say, oh, I have to replace the thermostat. Okay, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's two things connected to heat now. So it goes house, car, and it gets a little louder each time. The next time you get sick and you get a fever. And now you're hot. And now it's in your body.
Yeah.
And now you can't ignore it because it's in your body, right? You have to do something with it. So
Yeah.
you take medication and you do whatever you do and the fever goes away and you go, okay, none of those things are related. But if you're aware and you're paying attention, you can see that they're all related. Well, what's fever? It's about getting hot. And what's hot? That's your temper. That's anger, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you start playing with that, you can learn things about your life and you say, oh, you know what? I've got a lot of anger. I need to work on that because not only am I giving myself heat, but I'm wrecking the car and the house, right? Same thing with cars. I love cars because cars are us. So if you know this and someone has a car accident, you know everything there is to know about them because the right side of the car is a man or masculine. The left side is a woman or feminine. The front is where you're going. The back is the past, right?
Yeah.
So if someone hits you on the right side of the car, you've got something going on with a man that needs to be looked at, right? Or your own masculine energy is out of balance. If you get rear-ended, there's something in your past that you haven't looked at. If you have a head-on collision, that means stop, stop, stop. You're heading in the wrong direction. You got to change right now. And then you look at the car, right? The radiator, the engine's the heart. So if the engine goes, you better look at your heart, right? So that's kind of how I look at symbols. They're not just for dreams. They're like for everything.
Yeah. And that comes again to the point of us being conscious of everything around us, paying attention to every sign that life or God is thrown at us at the moment for us to understand. Yeah.
It's fun. Every time someone tells me they had an accident or a flat tire, I'm like, okay, tell me. Tell me what happened. Tell me where. Because it's like, now I know everything.
Yeah, yeah. I think it takes a knowledge of wisdom also to be able to decode all of these symbols, I believe. Yeah.
Just takes practice. That's why I wrote the book, actually, because I taught this for many, many years. And I thought, well, if I just write it down, then I don't have to teach it anymore. Then everybody just has it and they can make their own.
Yes, let's talk about your book a little bit, like mapping the inner landscape. Like, what do you expect readers to, learn from it by the time they pick it up and they are done reading it?
Well, it's a good way for you to start to become aware of what's going on in your life. It's a good way to open the dialogue between you and your soul. And for me, I use it because I want to not keep doing the same dumb thing over and over and over again, right? So I'll tell you, when I was married to my second husband, we had a car, and it was my car. He went out and drove it and put some wood, 2x4s in the car. And when he stopped and slid forward, the wood shifted and it cracked the windshield.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, whatever, right? Well, then I went and got another car, and I got in the car, and and there was a little ding in the windshield, right? And I'm like, oh, that's not a big deal. It was a used car, right? I took the car
Yeah.
out and I drove it, and the crack went straight across the windshield, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, what is obstructing my vision? What am I not seeing? Right? Well, I was like, oh, I don't know, right? Well, so got another car, and got the car, and don't you know, hit a rock, jumped up, cracked the windshield. And I was like, okay, I'm not getting in a car. I'm not doing anything until I figure out what it is I'm not willing to see. Right?
Yes.
And then I figured it out, and everything changed.
What was
So
it?
what I didn't want to see was that my husband was drug and alcohol addicted, and he was spending all of our money instead of feeding the kids and taking care of business. And I didn't want to know that, because as soon as I knew it, it meant that the relationship was over. And I wasn't ready to know it, you know?
Yeah.
But by the time I got to the third car, I pretty much wanted to know.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Can't
Yes.
miss it.
Yes.
Can't miss it. We know all the signs are bad. Sometimes the symbols are great. Sometimes flowers will show up, or it's really funny. There are days when we talked about this earlier, when I just say, you know what, God, I would really like to feel appreciated today. And a postcard will come in the mail that has my favorite flower on it. Everybody at work will just send me, I haven't told you, but I really appreciate what you do. I mean, they just come out of the woodwork. And I'm like, oh, thank you, right? It could be a song, it could be a picture, it could be a stranger, who just comes up to me and says, wow, you look so good, even though not even though, but they'll say, you look so great with your gray hair. And I'll say, thank you, right? That's reading the symbols too. They're not just pictures. So I use it all the time. I think my dream life is more real than my real life. Because it's who I really am.
You're connected to your inner self, to your deeper self. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, we have to recognize blessings too. Not just bad stuff coming up, but blessings that are all around us that we don't pay attention to.
Yes. Well, Susan, how can we make every day a blessing, like you said earlier, like, talking about wanting to feel loved every day, and then it happens. How can we intentionally do that? That we will say, okay, every day is going to be a blessing. We're going to be prosperous, creating that beautiful life for ourselves every day.
Well, I can tell you that my intuition, my soul always says to me, maintain yourself.
Mm.
And that means stay in balance. Stay in balance. So every day, I pick my head up off of my desk and out of the computer and the phone, and I go outside and I look at the sky. And I look at the trees, and I look at the little animals in the neighborhood, and I go, you know what? This is a miraculous place. This is a wonderful planet. And there's more to life than my job. There's more to life than YouTube. There's more to life, than my age. And I get into a place of appreciation. I appreciate the fact that my body does a great job of keeping me going.
Yeah.
It does a great job of keeping me healthy, that I can get up and breathe.
Mm.
I appreciate the fact that I can go out and walk, that I have the ability to move to where I want to move, or, that all my fingers work. It's appreciation and getting out of the weeds. You got to pick your nose up off the ground and look around and go, wow,
Mm.
the world is fantastic. I'm fantastic, and that's not that ego thing. When I think of all of the things that have to take place in order for me to say the words that I'm saying to you, it's mind-boggling. We're like the most wonderful, efficient piece of equipment that was ever invented.
Mm. Yeah.
Think about that. Appreciate that. We say, I just told my last class too, make your own love language. Create a love language for yourself, because your soul is love. God is love. The universe is loving. And so when we get into a place of love of self, we're as big as the universe, and we're as connected to God as you can get.
Yes.
And that's really what we want, isn't it?
That's what we want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Susan. I've learned so much from you from this conversation already. Like, I'm blessed that we spoke about intuition, spoke about our soul purpose, spoke about, decoding those signs or symbols around us. I'm so grateful that you even taught us the importance of gratitude, appreciating what we have so that we can make every day a blessing. So if there's someone out there who would like to reach out to you, get across to you, maybe for consultation or to use one of your services, what's the best way to connect and work with you?
Well, it's really easy. They can go to my website, which is my name, SusanZummo.com. My email is susanzummo@gmail. And every week I'm doing an uplifting spiritual message on YouTube. They're about 5 minutes long. So if you go on YouTube and you look for my name, they're called Messages from the Galactics, which is my soul family. So that's another way. And then on the first Monday of every month, we have the Higher Consciousness Cafe, which is a Zoom meeting, and it's free for anybody who wants to come. We do meditation, we do sharing, and we just kind of get together and uplift each other.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. And all of this information is available on your website, susanzummo.com. The link will be in the show note of this episode. So I encourage you to just click on the link, copy the link, and reach out to Susan. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on this podcast. I'm so grateful that we made this happen, and you taught me so much from this conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Toby. And you are always welcome to join us anytime.
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this.